everyone, welcome back to another video. Look at this. This is what we are going to be crocheting in today's video. This bag, I would say it's a tote slash shopper bag because it's pretty big and you have the handles plus also the strap that it's removable. So you can actually choose if you want to do only the handles or the straps. You can do one of them or you can do both as I did because it's super versatile, and then you can take as a handbag, and if you are tired of holding your bag you can also carry around your shoulders. So it's a super versatile bag. I love that. And also we are going to be working with the fillet crochet. This stitch is really fun to work with because it's super summery too because of the little gaps and the little holes across the front and the back. And you can make this bag in under a day, so it's a couple of hours kind of project, super quick and easy to do. And also I'm going to show you how to add a lining for this bag, as you can see, really fun. And also I've added a magnet too, so it's nice and closed, our bag. I would say that this is a bag that you can carry everywhere with you, to go shopping, to go thrifting, to go to school, uni or college, because it's a massive bag. It's really big inside, as you can see, so you can carry in a lot of things will fit inside this bag. So I'm really happy on how this bag turned out, and I really hope you guys enjoy today's tutorial. So if you want to learn how to crochet this beautiful bag, come along and let's crochet this one together. So here's everything I'm going to be using to crochet the bag. And first we have the yarn. This is the Pandoro Queen, in which is a ribbon corded type of yarn. Is really special, super different, and this is in the shade Hazel, if you are wondering. But all the links for everything I'm using will be in the description. And I really want to use this handle, so that's why I have it here. This is definitely going to be for this bag, so let's see how I'm going to be attaching this in place, because I have no clue how right now. And then I'm using here a small pair of scissors, tapestry needle, and a 6mm hook for this yarn. And then I'm going to be making a lining, so I have a measuring tape here. So for the lining, I'm using a 100% cotton fabric. I love the fabrics from Tesland. They are really good quality and really stiff. So I really love the fabric. I'm going to link that in the description too. I have this beautiful shade here, a lighter shade, so that we can actually see the design of the fillet crochet in which I'm doing here. It's kind of little diamonds. I really love that. And then for cutting the fabric, I am using a fabric zigzag scissors, thread and needle, some pins, and also I am going to be sewing my lining with my sewing machine, but you can also do by hand, and I have a video on that. I'll link that in the description if you are wondering how to do it by hand. So these are all the materials. Now let's begin and create the panels for the front and the back of this bag. It's super simple, so let's get on with that. So this is the design. You can kind of see the little diamond shapes here in the middle, and then we have the halves here on the sides. So this is what I've decided to do. If you already know the fillet stitch, so this is the chart that I've created to crochet this for my fillet crochet. I really love how it turned out. From afar, you will see the design way better than like this. That's why I've decided to create this one. And also I wanted to have like little holes, because that's what usually beach bags look like. So that's why I wanted to have like a little design, but at the same time I wanted to have like some little holes. I was going to do only squares, but then I thought, why not adding some little designs here and there? So that's why I've created this one. So if you already know how to do the fillet stitch, then I'll leave the pattern, the little chart here for you, and you can do it by yourself. You can just follow the little squares and you'll be able to make it, and then double crochets on top and the bottom. And then you can just skip to the next part of the video to continue the bag if you already know the fillet stitch following the chart. Otherwise, I'm going to take you into every single row and we are going to be doing all of them together right now. So to begin, we are going to be doing a slip knot, and then we are going to be chaining 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now to create the foundation double crochet row, the beginning here, you're going to be wrapping the yarn around the hook. You're going to go through the very first chain, and then you're going to pull up a loop, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through the first loop, and then you're going to keep that loop on the hook like this. And this is the loop that you're going to be using to create the next foundation double crochet. So if you want, you can place a stitch marker into this loop so that you know that this is the one that you're gonna get next. And then now you can complete the double crochet. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now the next one is going to be wrapping the yarn around the hook, and then you're gonna go into that stitch where you have the stitch marker, the one that I showed it to you before. So remove the stitch marker, go into that, make sure that you get 2 loops of that stitch, and then you're going to pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through the first loop, and then keeping the last one on the hook. If you want, you can return the stitch marker here so that you know that this is the next one if you are a beginner. And then now you can complete the double crochet. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's all you're going to be doing to create that foundation double crochet row. I'm going to do one more here so that you can see. And that's all you're going to be doing. And I'm going to be doing 40 stitches in total, counting the very first chain that is here as a stitch 2. So I'm going to now carry on creating here my double crochet foundation row, and then I'll come back with you once I have my 40 stitches in total. So as you can see, I have all my 40 stitches, including the chain, remember, so I have 39 double crochets and then 40 counting the chain right at the beginning. And if I measure this for you so you can see, we have currently 36 centimeters. And for what we can see here in the chart, it's going to be square going across, so no stitches, no squares to be covered for the first one, and the last one we are just going to be having some to cover throughout here the chart. So let's do that first row of the squares together. So the first thing that I like to do before I start with the square is to create the first double crochet, and to do that I like to chain 1, turn my project, and then I double crochet into this very first stitch. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Or you can also chain 5 and then do the squares as you wish. So that's how I do mine. If you want, you can place a stitch marker here. That's something that you can do if you are a beginner, right here. And then from here, it's a little bit easier to follow the stitches basically. So I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then I'm going to skip 2, so 1, 2, and double crochet into the following stitch. So chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2 stitches, and then double crochet into the following stitch. So that's what we are going to be doing into this entire row. Chain 2, skip 2, and double crochet into the next. So I'm going to continue here, and then I'll meet you right at the end. So now at the end, we have 3 stitches left, and we are counting the chain as I've mentioned at the beginning as a stitch. So we are going to now chain 2, and then you can skip the next 2, and then you're going to double crochet into the chain right at the end. Just like this. You can check back now into the chart, and we can see that here, the next one, we start with a covered square. So we are going to now already start covering the squares. Every time you see the orange square, you're going to be making 2 double crochets into the chain 2s that we have into the squares. It's super simple, the fillet crochet. So the beginning is always going to be the same as the previous one that we did. So we are going to chain 1, turn project, and double crochet into this very first stitch. And if you want, you can place a stitch marker here. I'm not going to because I already know. Just did this one so you can see, and you will see how this looks at the end too. And as we saw in the chart, we have to cover this very first square, and to cover the square, we have to add 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space. And remember that we have to always add the double crochets on top and into the double crochet stitch. These are always going to be there. We only cover the square by adding 2 double crochets into the chain 2 spaces. So that's what we are going to be doing. 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space, And now we double crochet into the double crochet stitch, the next stitch available. So we are going to be having 4 stitches here at the beginning. So now we look back into the chart. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares to make before we cover the next one. So all you have to do is to chain 2 and then skip the chain 2 space and double crochet into the next stitch, the double crochet stitch. We are basically creating squares on top of the squares. So chain 2, double crochet into the next double crochet stitch. And then you're going to be continuing doing that until you have 5 squares in total right after the covered square, the first one. So as you can see here, we have the first covered square and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares after this one. So now the next one we have to cover, as we can see here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the following one, it's a covered square. So that's what we are going to be doing. 2 double crochets into the chain 2 and then double crochet into the next stitch, the double crochet stitch. Always the same. It never changes, all right? So 2 double crochets into the next chain 2 space and then double crochet into the following double crochet stitch. So now we have to repeat the same on this side, exactly what we have into this other side here. So we are going to be having 5 squares and then we're going to be covering the last one. So chain 2 and double crochet, skipping the chain 2 and double crochet into the next double crochet stitch. Chain 2 and double crochet into the next double crochet stitch. Chain 2, double crochet on top of double crochet. Chain 2, double crochet on top of double crochet, chain 2, double crochet on top of double crochet. So now we got here into the last square. So we are going to be covering this one because the chart says that we have to cover. So we are going to be creating 2 double crochets into this last chain 2 space. And now we got here at the end. So we are going to be removing the stitch marker and we are going to be creating a double crochet into that last stitch where the stitch marker was. That's why if you are a beginner, maybe it's good to add the stitch marker so that you know that that was the last stitch. So now we are going to be chaining 1, turning project and double crocheting into that very first stitch. Always the beginning will be the same. And then now we're gonna have to check the chart. So now we have 1 empty square and then the following one, the second square, it's covered. So to make a square on top of the covered square, you're going to first chain 2 and then you're going to be skipping 2 stitches and then double crochet into the following one, in which is basically the double crochet of the square. You can see that we are only going to be adding the 2 double crochets to cover the square. We are always going to be following a line and matching all the double crochets where you have the completed square like this. So this is the line that we always have to follow when we have to add a square, just like this one. So now we covered the following square. So we are going to be doing 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space and then double crochet into the next stitch to complete the square. So now we check the chart. So now 3rd row, we have to do 1, 2, and 3 squares. So chain 2, double crochet into the next double crochet stitch and then keep on repeating the same until you have 3 squares in total. So 3 squares, 1, 2, and 3. Now we cover the following one. So 2 double crochets into the chain 2. and then double crochet into the next stitch available, in which is the double crochet of the square, to complete the square. Now we have to check the chart again. So now we got here in the middle is a little bit different than the sides. So we have a covered square, a square here, and then a covered square into the next square. So that's what we are going to be doing. We are going to be doing a square on top of this one. So chain 2, skip 2, and then double crochet into the next stitch to make an empty square. And then we cover the following one. So 2 double crochets into the chain 2, and then double crochet into the next stitch to complete the square. So now we can repeat the same as we did here. So we have to make 3 squares and then cover the following one. So chain 2, and then double crochet into the double crochet stitch. Chain 2, skip the chain 2 space, and then double crochet into the double crochet stitch. So now we go into the square that we have to cover. So let's cover that square out with 2 double crochets into the chain 2, and then double crochet into the following stitch to complete the square. Now we have to leave this square empty, so it's the same as the beginning. So chain 2, and then double crochet right into that very last stitch. So skip 2 and double crochet right at the end. Just like that. So now chain 1, turn project, double crochet into this very first stitch as we've been doing before. So now here on the chart we have a covered square, not covered, and covered, not covered, covered, not covered, covered, not covered, covered, all the way down. So that's what we are going to be doing. So the first one we have to cover. So 2 double crochets into the chain 2, and then double crochet into the next stitch to complete the square. And then we are going to chain 2, skip 2, and double crochet into the following stitch. Now the next one we have to cover, so it's going to be 1 covered, 1 not covered, 1 covered, 1 not covered, all the way down. We have to cover the last square, so we are going to be doing 2 double crochets into the chain 2, and then double crochet into that very last stitch. So as you can see, this is how it looks. 1 covered, 1 not covered, 1 covered, not covered, covered, not covered, all the way down. So now let's check the next step. So now we are going to be doing 1 not covered, 1 covered. The beginning is always the same. Chain 1, double crochet into the very first stitch, and now we can begin. So we are going to be having an empty square here at the beginning. So chain 2 and skip 2 and double crochet into the following stitch, and then we are going to be covering the following square. So 2 double crochets into the chain 2 and double crochet into the following stitch. So now we are going to be making 3 squares. So chain 2. Now we have more covered squares, so you will have to skip some stitches and then double crochet into the third, into the next one. So here we've chain 2, skip 2 and double crochet into the next, and then chain 2, skip the chain, double crochet into the next stitch, chain 2, skip 2 and double crochet into the following stitch. So 3 squares, and now we have to cover the following one. So 2 double crochets into the chain and double crochet into the following stitch. Now we have to make a square. So chain 2, skip 2 and double crochet into the following stitch. And now we have to cover the next one. You know, every time I say cover the next one, we have to do 2 double crochets into the chain and then double crochet into the following stitch. There we go. So now follow the same as the other side, make 3 squares. Now we cover the following one, and then we make a square right at the end. Chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the very last stitch. So now here we have the 5th row of the fillet stitch. Also remember that I'm not counting this one when I'm talking about the rows, because this is just the base and we are not really counting that. In the chart, you only see where we have the squares from this very first row here of the squares, okay? So now the following one is pretty simple. We cover the first one, we make 5 squares, cover the following one, make 5 squares, and cover the last one. So chain 1, turn, cover the first square. So create a double crochet into this very first stitch, cover the first square, now you're going to be making 5 squares going down. So here we go, 5 squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we cover the following one. And then repeat the same here on the other side, making 5 squares. So I go into the last one now. You're going to be covering this one. So 2 double crochets into the chain 2, and then double crochet right at the end. I think you can now clearly see the pattern that I've chosen. You can see the little diamond here, half of it and half of it on the other side. So now the following row, as I can see here, we don't have any square to cover. So it's going to be only squares going across. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's double crochet into this very first stitch, chain 1, turn, and double crochet into this very first stitch. And now all we are going to be doing is to chain 2, skip 2 in, double crochet into the following stitch. When you have the chain, you're going to chain 2, skip the chain, and then double crochet into the following stitch, in which is the double crochet stitch. So that's all we are going to be doing all the way down. So now here we have the next row now completed. We have to check the chart now. So now looking into the chart, we have a diamond right in the middle and in between the other diamonds here into the previous design. So that's what I wanted to do, but remember that you can always change up the pattern. If you want to do something else, you can always do that. You can always do something maybe zigzag, or if you want to do a little design on the bag, like maybe a flower or something like that, you can always change the pattern up if you want. This is just what I wanted to do. So what we are going to be doing for the next one, we are going to be making 3 squares and cover the following one. And then we are going to be making 5 squares, cover the following one, and then we are going to finish it off with 3 squares. So we have to make 3 squares first. I'm going to chain 1, double crochet into the first stitch, chain 2, so we skip the chain and double crochet into the next stitch, and now make 2 more squares so that we have 3 in total. So now we cover the next one. So now we make 5 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We cover the following one, and then we finish it off with 3 squares. So now for row number 9 of here the chart, we are going to be making 2 squares and then cover the following one, making a square, cover the next one, make 3 squares, cover the following one, make a square, cover the following one, and then make 2 squares at the end. I'm going to chain 1 and create the first double crochet here at the beginning. So now we have to make 2 squares and cover the following one. Now we are going to be making a square on top of the next one. So chain 2, skip 2 and double crochet into the next stitch. Now we covered the following square. So now we are going to be making 3 squares, 1, 2 and 3. Cover the next one, make a square, cover the following one. And then we finish it off with 2 squares. So for this one, we are going to be starting with 1 uncovered and then 1 covered, uncovered, covered, uncovered, covered, uncovered, covered, uncovered, covered, uncovered, covered, uncovered. All right, so that's what we are going to be doing all across. It's kind of like the checkered pattern, as I've mentioned into this one. Chain 1, make the first double crochet. And then we can start. The first one is going to be uncovered. And then the following one is going to be covered. And then from here, you can just follow the pattern and make 1 uncovered and 1 covered, 1 uncovered, 1 covered, all the way down. So I got here at the end, my last one is going to be uncovered, following the pattern here. So now the following one is going to be 2 squares, 1 covered, 1 square, 1 covered, 3 squares, 1 covered, 1 square, 1 covered, and 2 squares at the end. So let's do this one. Chain 1, turn, double crochet right at the beginning. So we are going to be doing 2 squares now, and then cover the next one, and then the next one will be a square. And then we cover the following one. And then we make 3 squares, and then we repeat the same here at the end. So we cover the next square, and then we make a square for the following one. There we go. Then we cover the next one. And then we make 2 squares here at the end. So that is the same as the beginning. So now for the last row here, where we have the covered squares, we are going to be having 3 squares at the beginning, cover the following one, 5 squares, cover the next one, and then finish it off with 3 squares. So let's do that one. Chain 1, let's make the first double crochet. So let's make 3 squares first, and then we cover the following one. And then we do 5 squares, and then we cover the following one. And then we finish it off with 3 squares. So now the last row in our chart, we are going to be doing squares all across. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So now here we have the last square to finish it off the fillet stitch part of the panel. We are now going to be creating the same here as the beginning, so double crochets all across. So create the first double crochet right at the beginning, exactly as we've been doing previously. And now we go into the first square, so we are going to be doing 2 double crochets into the chain 2. Now we go into the double crochet stitch, so we are going to be doing a double crochet into that. And you can just keep on repeating the same. So 2 double crochets into the chain 2. And then 1 double crochet into the double crochet stitch. And then repeat the same all the way across. So at the end, into the last square, we are going to be doing 2 double crochets into the chain 2. And then you can just double crochet right at the end. And now we have the panel completed. For this one, I'm not going to fasten off because you are going to be doing the first one. So this is your first one. So you're going to then fasten off. So chain 1, cut off the yarn and fasten off. And then you're going to be making the second panel, in which this is the second panel, in which I have the first one here. And then this one, you are not going to fasten off because I'm going to be using this same yarn to sew the 2 panels together. So the width for this panel, it's 36 centimeters, as I have mentioned at the beginning here with you guys. And then the length of my panel, it's 28.5 centimeters. So now you're gonna get your fabric, and then we are going to be cutting the 2 panels for the lining. So make sure that you double the fabric so that we can cut both panels at the same time. So let's leave about 3 centimeters all the way around. So I'm going to be just tracing it around with my fabric pen so that we can actually just cut it without the panel on top. All right, I've done all the tracing. Now I'm going to be cutting. So what I'm going to be doing is sewing the sides and the bottom, and then at the top where we have the opening, I'm going to double fold and I'm going to straight sewing that down to create just a hemming all the way around so that we don't have any frills. All right, so that it's easier to sew later around the bag at the top. So as you can see, I have my lining completed and it's just a little bit bigger than my panel. Remember that when we sew this, we will have to stretch it out so it fits perfectly here at the top. But then the bottom here, it's gonna have a lot of room for the bag to move. I'm going to now leave this aside because we are going to be sewing this in place at the end. So you're gonna get the first panel you've created. This one I did the weave in already. You're going to turn here on the reverse. So I have the right side facing the table. And then you are going to be getting the one that we've just finished. So this is the right side of this one. So the right side is facing us, as you can see. And now we are going to be single crocheting, or you can also slip stitch. I do single crochet because then we also have a little finishing here all the way around so that we can sew both panels together. And that's going to be pretty simple. Let's start here. So find any first stitch here on the other side. I'm going to do this one, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. So now we are basically going to be matching the rows and we are going to be sewing them together. So find one first stitch that you want. I'm going to be doing on this sided double crochet here, and then the same here on the other side. Pull up a loop and single crochet, and then make sure that you match so that you get the same stitch on both sides. Let's get 2 stitches on both sides, and then pull up a loop and single crochet. Now we have the stitch of the chain here, so make sure that you match that too on both sides and single crochet. Now we have the sided double crochet. Grab 1 stitch of both sides and then single crochet, and then carry on repeating the same step all the way down. When getting towards the end, it's exactly the same. You're just going to be matching the stitches and creating single crochets. And then right at the end, you're just going to match 2 stitches here down. It can be the very first 2 stitches of the foundation double crochet. And then here I'm going to be doing 3 single crochets into that same stitch. Just so that we have a rounded side here at the bottom. And then now we are at the bottom of the bag and we are going to be following the stitches here. It's pretty simple. We have the first stitch here and then the next one of the other side and single crochet. It's super simple because we have the stitches to follow. And that's all we are going to be doing here at the bottom. So I'm going to go all the way down, creating single crochets, following the stitches. So at the end, you're going to be doing the same as on the other side. So 3 single crochets, grabbing these last 2 stitches. Two and 3. So now you can just go up to the other side here, following the same steps as I did here on the other side. So I'm going to be doing this other side and then I will be back to show you the next step. So I'm getting here towards the top. I'm going to get my last 2 stitches and then single crochet, and don't fasten off because we are going to be using this to sew the handle in place. And I have another idea because I want to have also a long strap. So I am going to be using these rings here that I got also from Tessland. They will be in the description too if you want to check them out. They are really fun and they open, so you can actually remove them if you don't want to wear the bag with the strap with the long one. So you can just use the handles, for example, in a day that you don't want to wear the long straps. I'm going to be doing it right here into this double crochet. So it's double crochet number 1, 2, 3, 4, this one. So choose 3 stitches here. So I'm gonna do from this one and then 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, this one. Choose 3 stitches right here. So let's double check if I like that. Yeah, I think this looks pretty nice. So following the stitches that we have here, we are going to just single crochet our way to that stitch. So now I got here into the stitch marker, remove the stitch marker, grab one of the handles, make sure that it's not twisted, choose which side you want. I'm going to do this one. So now all you have to do is to go through the last chain and then go through the next stitch, pull up a loop through both like this and then single crochet. Now go through the chain, the next stitch, and then do the same, and then into the following stitch and do the same. All of them through this chain here, the last one. Yeah, that's going to look really nice. I'm not sure if I want to do one more, but I think 3 is enough. So now I'm going to continue with my single crochets all the way to the next stitch marker. Right, I go into the next stitch marker. I'm going to be removing that, fixing it exactly where I want. And then I'm going to be attaching this side in place into the next 3 stitches like that. And now I can just carry on with the single crochets all the way down. So when you get here on the side, just get stitches and move to this other side of the bag. I want to get 2 stitches here. There we go. Okay, I got to the other side. Now I can just carry on here on the other side. I'm going to place my 2 stitch markers. Now I'm going to do the same thing here on this other side, and then I will be back to show you how you're going to finish it off here where we did the joining of the panels. So at the end here, you want to make sure that you make it seamless until you find the very first single crochet that you did. So just find stitches and create single crochets. Make sure that you do them nice and tight. I'm gonna do one here. And then I'm going to slip stitch into this very first one. You can always check if that looks nice. I think that looks nice. So I'm going to chain one. Now we are going to fasten off. So cut off the yarn. Make sure that you leave a nice long tail to weave in, because this yarn is pretty stretchy. So you want to make sure that you leave enough yarn. All right, so I'm going to weave in this yarn. And then I'm going to weave in the other one that it's right at the bottom of the bag, somewhere it's right here. So here we have the bag basically now completed. If you want to leave it exactly like this, you can, and now you can just add and sew the lining in place, and then you are basically done. But I want to do a longer strap to go on the sides of the bag, because I do like to carry my bags also around my shoulders. So get the first ring, then you're gonna get the yarn, leave a nice tail to weave in later, make a slip knot, and then we are gonna go around the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, so single crochet. You can decide how many you want to do. I think I'm going to do maybe 4. Let's see how that looks. 3 and 4. I think I really like it with 4 stitches only. I don't want it to be too thick. So to go up, I'm going to chain 1, not counting as a stitch, turn, and then into this very first stitch, I'm going to single crochet and then single crochet down into all the 4 stitches in total. So this is the first one, second, third, and the last one, number 4. Yeah, I think this is a good thickness for a bag strap. So go up again, chain 1, turn, and then single crochet down into all the 4 stitches. And that's all we are going to be doing for the strap. It's pretty simple. Also remember that this yarn is pretty stretchy, so you want to make sure that you do check and pull a little bit to see the sizing. So here's my strap. I've done all the rows now, and I've done 75 rows in total for my strap. Before you fasten off, you want to make sure that you leave enough yarn so that we can attach this side to the other ring. So I leave about this much. Now we can fasten off and thread this yarn into your tapestry needle. All you have to do now, I like to turn this way because I'm right-handed. So you are going to go through the ring like this, and then through the very first loop. And I'm gonna go through the same loop twice. So now go through the loop and then through the same stitch down like this. Now go through the loop and through the next stitch, and then do exactly the same, go through that twice, and then do the same into the last 2. And as you can see, by doing this, it looks very, very similar to the other side. Not as neat, but very similar. So once you have done that, just go through this last stitch one more time. And then before you go all the way through, just go through this loop like this, and it's going to fasten off. And now we can weave both of these ends in. Choose one of the sides. I'm gonna do here. cut off the yarn, and then I'm going to weave in the other side. So now we have the bag completed, the strap completed, and all we have to do now is to attach the lining in place. So as you can see, I have the lining on the reverse, and that's how I'm going to be placing it inside the bag. Make sure that you get the corners. And then you want to match the sides. I'm going to pin this right in place. Make sure that you know exactly where the lining is gonna go. I'm gonna do just underneath the single crochets. So I'm going to match the sides first and then around. So now I'm going to sew this in place. Get your needle, your thread. I'm going to be doing double thread and a knot at the end. I'm going to insert right into the lining at the back, as you can see, of the lining, and then move the thread to the front. Now place exactly what you want, and all we have to do now is to start sewing. So you're gonna get a little bit of the thread, a little bit of the lining, and then sew the two together. A little bit of the yarn, a little bit of the fabric, and sew the two together. Also, you want this to be as neat as possible, so that's why you wanted to have a lot of patience right now and do this very slowly with a lot of love. So I'm gonna go all the way around, following the same steps, and then I'll meet you here at the end. To fasten off, all you have to do is to go through and you stitch again, like this. And then before you finish sewing, you're gonna go through the loop, and this is going to fasten off. And I'm going to do that 2 times. And go through the loop and fasten off. And now you can cut off the thread. Now looking at it completed, I am going to be adding a magnet because it looks so pretty, and I think it needs that little extra detail here, so it makes it more secure, our bag. So I am going to be adding this little magnet that you can sew it around into the little loops, and I will also add all the little extra things that I've added, the rings and the magnet, in the description, so feel free to check it out. So just measuring the bag for you guys. So the length is 32 from this point to the bottom, and then from the strap all the way down, that is 66 centimeters. And then from the handle, it's around 46. And then the width of the bag is 36 centimeters. And then the strap here that I haven't measured, the length with the measuring tape, in total, that is 78 centimeters. All right, so now we have the bag completed. I'm not gonna be adding anything else, I promise. The magnet was the last thing that I wanted to add just to keep the bag nice and close. Now thinking about it and looking at it, I'm not gonna take only to the beach, but I'm also going to be taking this everywhere with me because the sizing is perfect. Not only the size, but it looks really pretty too. So I'm definitely going to be taking this shopping, to the beach, when I walk around and I have to take a bag, or maybe when I go thrifting, then I can take this because it fits a lot of things inside. Also thinking about it, this is also a perfect bag for school, college or university. If you go and if you crochet, imagine if you make one and then you can go with this bag to your uni or college, and it will fit everything that you need inside. You can put a laptop or a tablet, your phone, if it's books or all the other stuff that you need to take with you to uni, school or college, because everything is going to fit inside this bag because it's massive. I really love how versatile it is. You can take with you around your shoulders or you can carry around on the handle. So it's a super versatile bag. I love it so much. You can also remove the straps if you want to take it just as a handbag, for example, like around your arms or like holding it. Pretty useful, this bag. I really like it. So this is how you crochet this beautiful bag. I really hope you guys have enjoyed today's tutorial, and if you end up making this bag, don't forget to tag me on Instagram so that I can see your take on this one, because I'm pretty sure you guys will do a great job. So don't forget to tag me, or you can just DM me some pictures so that I can see too. So thank you so much everyone for watching today's video, and if you did enjoy, don't forget to leave your massive thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you can watch more tutorials just like this one. So thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye bye!